Afternoon, everybody. It is Friday. It is the 24th of July 2020. It is 4 p.m. 1600 in the UK, 1800 6 p.m. in Cyprus, 11 a.m. in Florida, 8 a.m. in California, and 10 a.m. I believe in Chicago. Welcome to you all. This is Paddle the World number 13. We got to number 13. There you go. So today we have a Cyprus-esque, a Cyprus focus for you. We're going to be talking big picture, then we're going to focus down to club, and then we're going to focus down to individual. So a multi-level, multi-tiered approach to Cyprus paddling. First out the gate is going to be a friend of mine, Christos Georgiou. Christos was a true founding father of the Cyprus Dragon Boat Association, now Dragon Boat Federation. He was there instigating, setting up, checking, adjusting, testing from the outset, and was actually the organisation's first chair for the first 7 years. So really oversaw the instigation, setting up, and some trials and tribulations along the way. Second out the gate is going to be Eleni Roussidoulou, who is the boss, the founder of both the Raging Mouflons and Pink Mouflons, which is the first breast cancer team in Cyprus. And once again, not all plain sailing. So Eleni will be telling you about, once again, some trials, some tribulations, and some real triumphs that have come out of that in the setting up of a new team where three ladies got together. She says naively, I don't think naively. I think set up a club, perhaps not realising the full ins and outs, what is required of that, and then learning as they go along the way. And sometimes with full support and sometimes less support, but being realistic and pragmatic and learning as they go. And the result is now a team which is growing and thriving, and I honestly believe will go on from strength to strength, both in its regular Raging Mouflons mode and its pink sister, the Pink Mouflons. And then we'll talk to Pandora Nicolaidou, who I really got to know a little bit more when we went to Israel recently. Pandora is a Pink Mouflon and a Raging Mouflon, and she'll be telling us a little bit about her particular personal story on how she joined Raging / Pink Mouflons and what that has brought to her. So that's where we're going today. I hope you enjoy the show. At the end of this will be available in two places. It will be available on our Gross Paddling Happiness YouTube site, and it will also be shared live and direct to the Heat International Facebook page. So if you're a Heat International subscriber, you can get your Paddle of the World live and direct, hot off the press from that location as well. And we hope you enjoy it wherever you get your Paddle of the World content from. Have a great edition, enjoy it, and any questions at the end, there'll be some addresses that you can send into if you don't get a chance or think about any questions you want to ask during the course of the episode. Enough from me for the time being. Can I just introduce Christos? Christos is a friend of mine. He was one of the founding members of the CYDBA, now CYDBF. He was the chair for the first formative years, guiding years. He's a good friend of mine. He's an excellent coach, and he's got a lot of pedigree. And one thing about coaching, he does detail, and I really appreciate that in coaching, both in rowing and in dragon boat. So with that big intro, Christos, over to you, my friend. How are you? Christos, you're on mute.
All right, nice to see you all. Sorry about that. Okay. Well, I'm just going to jump into it. I'm going to share my screen and tell you a little bit about how we started in Cyprus and where we are today. So, I'm just going to do that. So here we go.
That's looking
good. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
All right, so. Okay. All right, so this is our logo, the original one. And here's dragon boating in Cyprus. We began in 2008. The story goes that, well, actually that's how it is. Mike Haslam, the then president of the IDBF, and his English Cypriot friend Andy Ermoyenous decided that they wanted to bring dragon boating to Cyprus. So the IDBF donated 4 old boats that came to Cyprus. Andy and Mike got a guy called Theodorou to sponsor the transport of the boats to Cyprus. The boats came in a 45-foot container and then were parked for those who live in Limassol, they know the Molos Park. It's a park right on the beach. Boats were later moved to where they stayed for the rest of the first few years in front of the beach at the Famagusta Nautical Club. Basically, Mike and Andy found some locals with prior experience in paddling sports. That was a guy called Angelos, who had some experience dragon boating in Canada. Me, I had experience with rowing, and Georgia Pavlovich, who had experience with canoe and kayak. And basically, the launching was to become our first participation in what was called Lemesia, which is a multi-sport event organized by the Limassol town. Here's the original flyer prepared by Mike Aslam. Here's the entry form. That first event was a good event. It was successful because it took place on the waterfront and it got a lot of publicity. Only 3 teams took part. The Russian forwards who won, basically a team made mostly of Volga Dragons, who are still in existence today. There was a team from Dubai, a female-only team, Dubai Sea Dragons. And then there were Limassol Spartans, who were basically rowers and kayakists from the Limassol town. And we had a great after party. Here's a few pictures from that event. Basically, we didn't have any infrastructure, so we organized it along the beach. Here's the Dubai Sea Dragons. Here's the Russian forwards loading a boat. I'm getting some echo. Okay. Right after the event, we had a meeting with those interested in dragon boating, and a few of us decided that we were going to start some clubs. And then, well, because according to Cyprus law, you have to have 3 active registered clubs before you can register an association or a federation. So these people, Kikis Paraskevas was the president until recently when he passed away. Georgia was one of the kayak coach who then started the Limassol Spartans and became their coach, and they're still in existence today and they're flourishing. Kyriakos Christofi, he was our first treasurer, my cousin, Andy Ermoyenous and I. There were 2 people, Christina and Yorgos Lugaidis, who promised they're going to start a club, but it never went through. And of course, Angelos and his brother George, who started the 3rd club. These guys here are the founding members. That's myself. I acted as chairman for the first 7 years. Georgia Pavlovich was mainly technical director and vice chairman. Angelos Papadopoulos was secretary general. Kyriakos was a treasurer. And these 4 first people were mostly the ones doing the hard work during the 7 years. There's Peter Barber, who was coming and going, Andy Ermoyenous, and then Kikis Paraskevas, who was the president, and Theodorou, vice president, and Mike Haslam, of course. He was helping the association from wherever he was around the world. He used his connections to help us a lot. So, like I said, these people started the 3 first clubs, and then basically for the first 2-3 years during the winter time we had no activity because we trained on the beach and the weather got rough. So after November, say, it was too rough to train, so we were taking breaks and then coming back in April and picking up whoever was left from the year before, which was 2 or 3 people, and then extra people from the beach. Just people would see us on the beach and we'd invite them, come and practice for free, come and join us, this is fun. At the time I was coaching a rowing club in Paphos, which is about an hour away from Limassol. So I couldn't really commit to coaching. Georgiou was coaching the kayak club, but he was in Limassol. So he committed. But soon thereafter, there was a couple from New Zealand that they were spending a year or two in Cyprus back then, called Rodney and Kim Stokes. And these guys came as paddlers, but in the end, they were running the sessions until the end of 2009. We had the second international event at the end of the year in November, and that was also a success. Here's the new flyer for the second event. Pictures from the first event. In this picture, these are the Spartans, the rowers and the kayakists. And in the white, we have the Volga Dragons, who came as Russian forwards. And this is from a warm-up, it's not a race. Here's another picture from that event. And here's at the end of the event, the 5 teams that participated. These are George's Famagusta Dragons. These are rowers and kayakists. So here on the right, these are rowers. They were my athletes from Paphos. These are kayakists from the Famagusta Club. Here are the Wednesday Zulus. So it was a team that later became, I became their coach afterwards. And here are the Russians who came back for a second year. Everybody had fun, as you can see. But it was really informal. It was a half-a-day event at the beach and then a party at the beach thereafter. It was all good fun, but it was very amateur. So that's how it went. 2008 to 2010, we had mainly training in the summer. So in order to overcome that, in 2011, we decided to move to the Yermasoia water dam, which is a man-made water storage facility. The water is calm year-round, and we built a boat trailer to transfer all boats there. And instead of keeping 2 or 3 like we did in the previous year over the winter, we kept 13 paddlers. So it was a good starting point, and it made a difference. 2012 was a real breakthrough for our association. That's when we organized our first charity event, and it was in association with the Rotarak Berengaria Club of Limassol. So we organized a charity event to benefit the Zoe Foundation, which helps cancer patients. We had 16 teams, which was a huge jump from 5, which was the previous years. And it was a lot of people. We had 325 paddlers. The way we set it up was that every participating team had to pay an entry fee, which of course went to charity. And then they also had to practice for at least 2 hours prior to the event. That was good because within those 2 hours, we taught them how to paddle so we could have a safe event and they could enjoy it more. But it also gave us a chance to bond with them. And a lot of them came back as regular paddlers. That's how we got them to like the sport. So before I go on, I have to tell you that in Cyprus, there's this prejudice against paddling in the water dams or swimming in the water dams or doing whatever related with the water dams, because local people feel that it's not safe. They feel that there's a lot of mud at the bottom of the dam, which if you get stuck in will result in you drowning. And that's really not the case because the dam is really deep. It's 20 or 30 meters deep, so there's no way you can get stuck in the mud. So, but anyway, because of this prejudice, it was decided back then that the event was to be held at the beach. We thought that the beach was a much friendlier environment and it would attract people more and people would enjoy it more and have fun. The problem with the beach was that it was very susceptible to rapidly changing weather conditions. So what happened is we started the event and then the weather changed and we had to interrupt it. Here's the original flyer. I couldn't find a better picture for this. Here's some pictures from setting up at the beach on the first Saturday. This was, if you can see here, this is Kyriakos Christofi, the treasurer. This is Zehra Ackerman, who is part of Rotary Club, and I can't remember who this is. Here's me setting up a tent. And here's people at the water dam the week after, because what happened was that since we had to interrupt because of the bad weather conditions, then we had to bring everybody back to the water dam the week after. And since they had already paid to take part, we got 11 out of the 16 teams to come back. They didn't withdraw. And I mean, there would be no other way to get them to the water dam had they not had already paid for this event. And they came and they had fun. This is the organizing committee. These are people from the Rotary Club Berengaria, and this is them having fun. This is after their paddle session in the boat. They're really happy. And everybody was happy. Here's some pictures during the event. Here's Aspelia Club from Nicosia. Here's the organizers again. So that was a good thing that this happened, because it gave us an opportunity to show people that the water dam is safe and that we can paddle there nicely, safely, having fun in a nice controlled setting. And it was a breakthrough because it got local people to understand that this is not something to worry about. You can paddle in the dam safely, and they came to the sport knowing that we're paddling in the dam. 2012 closed on a sad note when Mike Haslam's wife passed away, and what we did, we dedicated our international event to her memory. There was a team from Spain called Dragon Boat Pinatar who's still around, and they're doing great. The Europeans, they killed everybody. The banner for that memorial. Here's some pictures from the event. These are Dragon Boat Pinatar in red. And these are a group of kayakists from the Famagusta Club who just jumped in the boat on the day, and they were basically the only serious competition Pinatar got, but they hadn't had any practice, so they lost. They probably would have lost had they had any practice, but but they did fairly okay. Here's some of us. Here's Mike Haslam. Here's Theo Theodorou. Here's Kyriakos, the treasurer. Here's Jorge from Dragon Boat Pinatar, who's in EDBF now. Here's one of the kayakists. Here's a Russian guy called Andrei Kutyurin. And here's me. And here's one of our members back then, Florentina. And here's the lineup prior to the event. In 2013, we continued growing. We had good demand for coaches and official certification. So guys came over from IDBF and ran a course. This is Mike Thomas, the now president of the IDBF. Alan Van Koolberg, this is Mike Thomas's wife, and that's Mike Haslam. And this is an Iranian lady that gives nutrition tips. 2013 was the first year that we decided to take part in the World Dragon Boat Championship in Szeged. We weren't really very advanced as paddling goes, but it was the time to show that we exist. It was 5 years after we started paddling, and we managed to get around to form a team with whoever could commit to take the trip. That was 28 people. It was a first experience. Everybody was very satisfied. The racing results were okay, not great, but not too bad. And people that participated, at least some of them, were really motivated for advancing further in the future. Here's the team that took part in Szeged. It's 28 plus. So it's 27 plus a coach. And the coach is Angelos here. This is me and Georgie, the other two coaches. And that was the banner prior to taking part in Szeged 2013. That's how we advertised to get people to join us. And this is the Masoya water dam from a different point of view. And here's us in Szeged. So like I said previously, 2012, 2013 were breakthrough years. That's when we grew in numbers. So we had new needs. So we had to buy new boats. We had to get new boats. And we managed to get a deal through IDBF. They said, rather than us sending new boats to Africa through our development program, you guys have a program that is booming. You got nearly 300 people paddling on the island. So why don't you send your old boats to Uganda? You pay for that, ship the old boats to Uganda, and then we'll ship 4 standard and 2 small boats. And then we bought another one to make them 3 so we could rent with it. And we ended up with 4 new champion standard boats and 3 champion small boats, which were really great for us here in Cyprus. We could upgrade our events. We could give our paddlers more comfort and more better infrastructure, which always helps. Finally, after 5 years, the Sports Authority of Cyprus recognized us as the official authority running dragon boating on the island, and we got registered as an official affiliate as the Cyprus Dragon Boating Federation now. The difference between association and federation is that association is an organization that can have members who are people, whereas a federation can only have members who are clubs or other legal entities. So when you get registered with COA, you become a federation. It's a must. 2014 and 15, these were good years for me and my team. Basically, our club, the Limassol Paddle Sports Club, had a team called the Zulus. And those years we dominated our international event, and it was the first time a Cypriot crew won against international crews in Cyprus. And we also went to Belgrade and got a bronze medal at their event. Back then, really happy for winning. Here's us in Serbia. Here's us in Cyprus. So from 2008 to 2015, I was chairman of the CYDBF. Kyriakos, Angelos, and Georgiou was with me on the council. Basically, 4 of us ran everything. I'm pleased to say that everything was, all we did was coming after unanimous decisions. There were no disputes. There was nothing. We always had common ideas, and we pursued them, and we achieved our goals. But it was time for change. You know, after 7 years at a post, especially when you're a volunteer, you need to go and give space to new people. So I, Angelos, and Kyriakos successively left the council to be replaced by Adrian, Elena, and Anna Socratus, who are still around as chairman. Elena was secretary general, and then she left. And then Anna Socratus is still the treasurer. And we have elections again this year. Slowly over the span of the next 5 years, several people had a go on the council, some staying longer than others. What really changed during these years was that we had new clubs. So instead of the original 3 clubs that started everything, now we have the Raging Mouflons. And out of the Raging Mouflons jumped the Sharks, the Famagusta Club, which was always around dragon boating but never really actively involved in it, has finally joined the CYDBF. Even more boats came to Cyprus, but now under club or ownership and not ownership of the CYDBF. This changed the system a little bit because up until 2015 or 17, when the boats came, when the 3rd shipment of boats came, all boats were the ownership of the CYDBF. So whoever was using the boats was paying half their fees collected to the club to the CYDBF. So the CYDBF had a steady stream of income, which it would use to run events and run the national team and any other, build infrastructure and all that. Now things have changed. Basically, the CYDBF relies on a couple of fundraising events to raise money. It's getting some financing from the state, but not really important. That's pretty much it. 2020, as you all know, we had to deal with COVID. Everybody stopped training for 3 months. We had to start slowly with 5 people in a standard boat. This was optional. I mean, people were still given to understand that there still is a risk, and yeah. But you know, the government has handled the crisis very efficiently, so the risk is really, really low in Cyprus. Gradually, we increased to 10 in a standard boat, and here's where we are today. Another breakthrough this year was that after 10 years, since 2010, that we are fighting with the red tape here in Cyprus. We were trying to vote a new legal framework to govern the usage of water dams for water sports in Cyprus, in order to allow for us to build some basic infrastructure, which so far has been illegal to build. And it's been passed 2 weeks ago. So this is great now. We have a good opportunity, given that we can raise enough funds to build basic infrastructure like a boathouse, like a proper ramp to access the dam. So you can transition from the road to the ramp to the pontoon without having to step in the mud or in rough terrain. Build a proper gym around the dam, or a lecture room, things that you need around a paddling facility. That's pretty much it. So here's where we are today. Any questions?
One from me, Christos, please. When the Wednesday Zulus, where's that name come from? I've never heard that before.
You don't know the story?
No.
Okay, so these were a group of expats, mainly from the UK and South Africa, who used to drink at the Roussidoulou club, Roussidoulou pub. Right. And they used to meet every Wednesday and have a drink.
Okay.
So they were meeting at the Roussidoulou club, so they called themselves Zulus.
Right.
Because they met every Wednesday, they were the Wednesday Zulus.
Oh, so this is as logical as that. Okay.
Yeah, okay. And they were practicing together with the Famagusta Dragons that Georgia was training back then. Yeah. But when it came to racing time, the Famagusta Dragons wanted to race on their own, so they were without a coach. They're like, Christos, can you coach us? I said, yeah, sure, no problem. So that's how they started. And their first goal was to beat the Famagusta Dragons, which they did in a year and a half.
Okay.
And then, they grew from there.
Okay. Another question for me. I mean, you've understated massively the challenges involved in setting up not only a club, but a national organisation. Now, crystal ball time. If you had that time again, what would you, in a nutshell, what would you do differently? Because it seemed to me fairly efficient, but what were the big learning points for setting up a national organisation? The big subject, I know, to ask.
I'll tell you what the good points were, because you always run into trouble. But I think what helped a lot was that even though we were a 9-people council officially, there were only 4 of us who were really active. So it wasn't a one-man show, but it was the fact that it was a small group making the decision. It made things much more efficient.
Right. So,
and everybody who was involved, they were paddlers initially. They didn't want to join in on the volunteer side to organize things.
Yeah.
So everybody was having a good time, and it was a nice, and everybody was working together. So yes, we had 3 clubs, but we were all training together at the same facility. So it was a good environment. It was a nice setting, and I think that's what helped. What would I have done differently? I don't know. I really don't know, because I think it went as smooth as it could have went.
I've got to say, talking to the people I know who are involved, they reflect on those first formative years as quite a stable building block period. So I was just wondering, you always see, as an organiser myself, you always see what we'd say the warts and all side of things, but it seemed like you built up to maybe 300, 350 membership and then obviously there's time to change, hand over, and that's a natural thing anyway. But that I was interested in your reflection on that. One more question from me. This boat go round where you end up with the boats going to Uganda. Have you ever heard of anybody? I've never heard of anybody paddling in Uganda. Do you know what's happened to those boats?
Well, I saw a couple of pictures in the Dragon Sport News that Mike Haslam published back then with the boats. And there was a ceremony, and they received the boats and all that. But that was it. I don't know what else happened.
So they may be big plant pots. They may be paddling them. Who knows? But hopefully they're paddling.
Who knows?
Right. Okay. Anybody from the house? Does anybody like to ask Christos any questions? If you wish to, please just unmute and you'll come to the top of our screen. So any questions for Christos?
Christos, this is Randy Tom from Chicago. I have a question. I'm always interested in these new clubs. My brother down there, John McDermott, my coach, we started a club similar, and so your story is very similar to ours. But I'm just curious, in Cyprus, what's the mix between women paddlers and men paddlers? That's one. What's the average age of the paddler? Are you getting the youths into your club? And then the third one, which we do a lot in Chicago, which we're missing this year, is corporate teams. We've been training a lot of corporate teams because we think that's a great opportunity to introduce more people into the boat, into dragon boating, and the teamwork is such a great corporate value to them. So those are my three questions.
Okay, very valid, very good questions. So we have an excellent mix of men and women. It's roughly 50-50. Age groups, when we started, you know, the organizers are the ones who tend to bring people in. It's word of mouth, okay? So when we started, we were in our 30s. So we got people in the 30s or older. Much harder to get younger people. We got many young people during our first charity event in 2012 because our co-organizers were youth. They were like in their 20s. So we got a lot of people who came for these corporate-like events because they were mostly volunteer groups, Rotary subsidiary groups like that. So we got a lot of those then, but now we're getting mostly corporate groups for our charity events, which is people in their 30s and 40s. Okay? But as we aged and as we got older, now my team's age average like 50. So I'm 44, but we got at least 5 members who are 60 something, and we got most of our team is in their 50s. We got some in their 30s. So as we grow older, our age group ages with us, and the challenge is to try and bring younger people into the sport, and this is hard. And in order to do that, you got to have a coach. You got to have a few members that want to form a team of their own that are younger. That's my idea on it. And then the third question I think I already answered because corporate groups are great. This is our main source of income right now, and this is our main pool from which we get new paddlers.
Thanks. Yeah, our mix, we always have more women than men. So you getting 50-50 is a great mix. We just have a challenge getting men into the sport. The women are just more accepting of getting into this kind of sport.
Yeah. At the beginning for us, it was the other way around. We got more men than women. But over the last few years, we're about 50-50.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Very comprehensive. Christos, any other questions before we hand over to Eleni? You've stunned them. You've stunned them, Christos. Okay, would you, I think you're still host, Christos. Could you hand over the host to Eleni, please? And while we do that, if I introduce Eleni, Eleni is a good friend of mine. She's a founder and one of the helms, and does a bit of coaching also for the Raging Mouflons. Raging Mouflons is a fairly unique organisation in Cyprus, not just because it's a dragon boat club, it's also the first organised BCS club as well. They've got an arm of the club called Pink Mouflons. So when we're ready to talk to Eleni, Eleni's there. Eleni, you're still on mute. And there we go. Here we go.
Hello, everybody.
Hello there. Beautiful. Looks good, Eleni.
Start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a story about 3 paddlers who decided in one night to launch their own club, believing that it's going to be a very easy thing to do. So apart from being women of a certain age who were very passionate about the sport, we've had nothing else in hand by then. So we decided to launch our own club, realizing that it's not going to be very easy. So in 2017, we started meeting, discussing about, from the knowledge we've had as paddlers, how to organize a new dragon boat club. We never really thought by not having the know-how or the resources to attempt to pull off such a project would have made the attempt almost impossible. We faced a lot of struggles. In 2018, took us a while to decide on a name, but eventually we had a name. We decided to start training. By the time we've had no paddlers, no qualified coach, no equipment, but we've had a name. So we thought that it was time for us to start training. Relying on our relatives, our employees, our mothers, having no one to coach our team, we started going to the dam, trying to persuade people to come to train with us. There were instances that we were waiting for our paddlers to turn up for a session, and the coach never turned up, never showed up. We were very lucky because we've had great help from our fellow paddlers who were qualified in coaching. Paddlers from other teams were trying to stand by our attempt to create a new team, to organize a new team. I bet that fellow paddlers were genuinely trying to help us, but at the back of their mind were thinking, what the fuck these 3 women are up to. I was realizing that people couldn't understand why we're struggling so much to have our own team. But really our dream was to create a team, a racing team for us to race. Yeah. We wanted to live the thrill of racing. What really kept us together and kept us going was that we were friends. We were persisting on what we wanted to do. We were wanting to succeed, wanting to paddle, and most of all, we are wanting to live the thrill of racing. That's what kept us together. Don't think that we loved each other all the way until we created a team. Yeah. We were fighting. And we were fighting for various reasons. Main reason for tension was the barriers that we faced. It was our frustration to overcome those barriers that we should have expected, but we were completely ignorant of them by then. What? No matter what, we were there. We were attending every single meeting. despite of the difficulties. We never missed a training. Even if we had to be there, the three of us, waiting for paddlers and the coach to turn up. Personally, and allow me to share this with you, by the time I was very sick, I was fighting with an autoimmune situation that caught me in the middle of this project. But still I was there in great pain, sitting on the boat, not being able to paddle, but I wouldn't miss a single training. And really, that's what I was advised at the beginning of this attempt by one of the successful coaches and founders of the sport in Cyprus. I remember he told me that at the beginning, they will be coming for you. Be there, no matter what, be there. So I was doing that. It took us a while to find a professional coach and pin our hopes on him to succeed in helping us to realize our dream. The coach we found was coming from another water sport. He was highly qualified, very good coach, but he failed to commit to the obligations required to drive through and succeed in forming a team, as we've had it in our mind. It was there that we realized that being women, and especially of a certain age, is not a quality much appreciated in sports in this part of the world. We faced a bit of discrimination in everything that we were attempting. But this coach of ours managed to bring in a number of very young athletes of a different water sport that gave us the hope of racing and winning. And really, that's where we started facing bigger problems, because I believe that that was the point that people were realizing that these three women, they are going to achieve accomplishing their project. They are forming a team, and it's going to be a strong team to win. By then on, we were facing problems of not getting enough support from our fellow paddlers. We were a group of people that we started this attempt aiming for the fun of the sport, and none of us was financially relying on the income that such a business would bring in. So we thought that our attempt to accomplish this project and would contribute to a healthy competition in the dragon boat community. People though they were facing our presence in the sport in a different way. That's how we felt. Just because we were frank and we underestimated the politics within the sport, we didn't know that behind the sport there are always politics. We're just realizing. And by handling situations with no diplomacy, not because we were unable to be diplomatic, but mainly because we overestimated people who supposedly were on our side, were supporting us. Because we failed to manage things with diplomacy, we faced punishments like been banned from, banned in inverted commas, from participating in decision-making committees, being refused to participate in fundraisers just because our team didn't meet a criterion that never was put forward before to any team. But the most important thing of all was that we've had to dismiss the coach that we hired because he failed to turn up in a technical committee's meeting prior to a very important event. We've had to tell him that we cannot continue with you. So we left again. We were left again, the three of us, perhaps a few more by the time, struggling to put a team together again. And it was at that point that we decided to give the opportunity to a fellow paddler to start a new career. We hired him, we supported him to develop his coaching skills. We put a lot of money promoting the club in order to get new paddlers, and at the end, the people we supported, the friend of ours, left without giving a notification to the club that he wanted to create his own club. He created his own club with our paddlers. That was the point that there was a lot of disappointment, a lot of hurt feelings. It wasn't the situation couldn't be compared with the previous one when we've had to dismiss our coach, because now friendships were destroyed, betrayals were experienced. So we stayed again, the three of us, actually the two of us, because the third one disappeared as well, starting again from the very beginning. We didn't do bad. We passed through a lot of things, very difficult things, practically and sentimentally, but we managed to form a team. We passed very difficult situations in respect to, we've had to explain to people, to our paddlers, why we were passing this situation, why they were receiving two different messages for training, one from the club, one from the coach. But even though I can say that today we overcame in a great extent the practical problem of the situation, but not the sentimental one, not the feelings. The feelings are there, we are hurt, both sides, I believe, and we are trying to continue. Actually, the situation with the COVID-19 helped our club a lot, because it gave us the opportunity to stay away from the feelings and start thinking and organize the practical part of keeping our paddlers together. What we did during the quarantine, I think we were the only club that we started giving our paddlers the opportunity to exercise, to have exercise sessions, online sessions from the very first day of quarantine until the end. This, of course, was an achievement that we have to be thankful to our coaches, Michalis Kyriakou and our consultant coach, Mr. Tim Smith, who was there every day online, carrying out this session, keeping our paddlers together. Today, we are doing well because after the guarantee, the very first day that we went back to training, we've had 30 paddlers, and we've had to load 3 boats in order to train. We have our own boats. We have a very good and qualified coach. We have a consultant coach. We have a sponsor who supports us in everything that we want to achieve. And I have to tell you that in spite of the safety regulations that came out from the federation, we kept our own safety policy. And we've had all our paddlers passing through the test of COVID-19 before we allowed them to load the boat. I'm gonna show you a video that we did.
Let's see if it works. It may work. If it works, fine. Let's see how it goes.
I think it works.
Yeah. We sometimes have a problem with live feed videos. Oh, but you can get the gist of it. So it's basically a safety promotion on how to do a COVID test, which actually sounds straightforward, but most people, I suspect, will have no idea what is entailed by this.
Actually, we did this video to show people that it's an easy procedure. It's very easy. You can go there 2 minutes, you don't get off your car, you get it done, and that's it. Mentioning that today we have 2 teams, what I mean is that we have our Raging Mouflons team, which is supposed to be a racing team, and then we have the Pink Mouflons, which is a team that gives the opportunity to people who experience breast cancer to exercise and create their own dragon boat community. This team actually did well because our paddlers had the opportunity to paddle with the International Pink Sisters in an event in Cyprus. We cooperate with Europa Donna Cyprus, which is an organization that trying to promote awareness on breast cancer. Our paddlers had the opportunity to paddle in various events, big dragon boat events, trying to promote the issue to the community, to sensitize people about how to protect themselves, how to cope with this situation. There is a picture showing our paddlers with the International Pink Sisters in an international event in Cyprus. Our paddlers got the opportunity to go to the Netherlands with the Pink Sisters to participate in an organization of dragon boat, in a festival actually. And recently we went to the Sea of Galilee and we got the opportunity to paddle with the Pink Lionesses, which is a huge team, breast cancer survivors team in Israel. I think question here would be, what our upcoming plans are.
Yep.
We struggled a lot, but once we dare to think big, my impression is that we cannot do anything else but repeat. And this is our plan, to grow our club and achieve our goals, to become a club that is going to be capable of racing here in Cyprus and abroad. Thank you.
Okay, Eleni, thank you very much. It seems to me, I mean, I know you very well now, resilience, perseverance, strength of character, and unity. These are your founding principles. I mean, it's what I've picked up from talking to you, and these are the principles I've carried on throughout. So I have no doubt personally, now that I know you even more so, that this is going to be a successful team. And people say over here in the UK, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And as I look at the pink Mouflons and the raging Mouflons, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And sometimes these setbacks are unfortunate, they're not planned, but my old mum used to say they're meant to be. So
Yeah.
I wish you very well. And it's a really interesting story, because we all hear about stories of happy paddling, and we all, yeah, there's also some less happy stories that go towards building the happiness that is to come. So thank you very much for that. Are there any questions for Eleni from the house, please? Do we have any questions? If you'd like to unmute and ask Eleni any questions.
Hi, Eleni, it's Liz Bradley. Great presentation. Tell me, what is a Mouflon?
Mouflon is a local wild goat, if I'm not mistaken. Christos, am I right? That you can only find in Cyprus, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're the raging wild goats.
Yes, yes.
That's great. It's a great logo.
Yeah, but Liz, you know, the collective noun for goats is a tribe. So the Mouflons are basically a tribe.
Right. Yeah.
Great.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions from the house before we hand over to Pandora? Anybody else, please? Okay then, so Christos, my friend, could you possibly hand the host back to me, and then I'll get on and speak to Pandora. So Pandora, if you also unmute for me, please. Okay, in the meantime, where's
I think you can do it yourself, Tim.
can I? No, I can't. I can't. You have to do it for me. So if you go into...
Okay. Well, everybody can share now, so Pandora can start sharing his screen.
Okay, no worries. Okay, we can go with that then. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Okay then. So where's Pandora? There are.
I'm here.
Pandora. So now we've talked big picture. We've talked about the setting up of the CYDBF. We've talked a little bit smaller. We've talked about raging Mouflons, and now your individual experiences. So you are one of the raging Mouflons, but came in as a pink paddler. So what brought you to dragon boating in the first place?
I read Eleni's calls on the Facebook. Do you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Eleni used to call me, among other people, of course, to join the club and help them. And I would always be, you know, very busy with my work, my family, and so on. And then almost 2 years ago, I had a personal tragedy in the family. We lost one of the family members. And I was really, really depressed. And then it was one event organized by the Raging Mouflons. And I thought, maybe I give it a try. And that's it. I will be always grateful to them, because as soon as I join them, I am just... I feel like being a member of a big friendly, tribe.
Yes.
The Mouflons, they are very friendly. They, especially pardon, am I here?
Yeah.
It's a very friendly club. All of the members are bond together. We try to help each other. And of course, the sport itself. It's exciting once you get either in the lake or in the sea, and the synchronization, the sun, the breathing the fresh air, the sea, yodine. I mean, it's all together. It's an activity that combines everything. It's the physical activity, and also you are out in the nature, in the sun, which is fantastic.
You're a civil engineer, are you not, in Cyprus?
Yes.
And how many lady civil engineers are there in Cyprus?
Okay, I don't know the statistics, but maybe 30% of the civil engineers are ladies. I mean, okay. we have. It's not a male profession.
But I mean, whatever it is, it certainly is a pressure profession. So I'm interested in what particularly Dragon Boat gives you with your high pressure. You've got a family to run. You've got a high pressure job. What is specific about Dragon Boating?
Okay, like any physical activity, it helps the body to to release the stress, to all those. I don't know the medical terminology, but physical activity is very important, especially if you are being stressed out all day in your work.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting to me because I appreciate the history and the ups and downs and significant ups and downs of the formation of the club. And yet fairly recently, before the lockdown, we went to Israel, and it struck me that the team was laughing from minute one to almost we got back on the aircraft again. So there's a lot of laughing going on and a lot of pleasant experiences in that team. So what is it about that group of people? Because that's a unique, well, it's not unique, but it's a very special part of what the Raging Mouflons and Pink Mouflons do. So what do you think the special ingredients are?
I don't know. Maybe it's a coincidence that some of the ladies are really extraordinary, and they are like the spirit of the team, and then they lead the others.
I think that's true. I think if you're leading people have a very positive outlook, then that becomes the gist of the team, the essence of the team. And the essence, despite the setbacks, and there's always setbacks in teams, it's a happy bunch of people. And I read the emails from Eleni about sort of welcoming new members. In fact, Liz does the same thing with the Heat International people. It's so important, isn't it, to keep contact with people and make contact and keep contact. And, despite all the setbacks.
Yeah, it's impossible not to make contact in a dragon boat.
Yes. Oh, yes, but outside as well.
We're too close.
So how have you personally, just to finish off, how have you personally dealt with the COVID situation? How has that gone for you?
Okay, the activities of the club were a good thing that they kept people together. Yeah. Then we slowly started doing the kayak sports, and then thankfully we had the idea of testing ourselves, and if we know who we paddle with, so there is a big possibility that we will keep being healthy, unless, of course, things worsen, which nobody knows yet. Yeah. But we hope.
Okay, and it's very a great stroke of good luck is your regular coach Michalis, who's here today. He's obviously a kayak coach first and foremost, and of course during the lockdown the first thing that happened was single boats and you're back in kayaks, so you're gaining new skills as well. So nobody would wish COVID on anybody, and there he is, Michalis, got his shirt off, showing his bicep. But it's so what lessons have you, well, personally, I mean, if there was somebody else in your situation, last question, and they were thinking about joining either a breast cancer team or a regular paddling team, and they're of the same sort of age that we are, how would you advise them? Because people maybe of my age, 50.
What did you say? Dragon boat versus what?
How would you encourage somebody? So you're meeting somebody first time and you're encouraging them to take up dragon boating, not just with raging Mouflons or maybe Mouflons, but what is it that specifically has given you specifically for?
I can show them my hands and tell them that a year ago I had lymphedema.
Yeah.
If you know that, and
yes.
Now I don't.
Right. Okay. So it's physiological benefits. Okay. And just
yes,
from
of course.
Just from the sport of dragon boating, which obviously was the original study by Dr. Mackenzie.
Dr. Mackenzie.
Fancy forgetting his name. Okay, fine. Let's leave it there. Pandora, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, any questions for Pandora before we finish for the day? Thank you, Pandora. Any other questions for Pandora? Okay, you've stunned them once again, Pandora. Thank you. You stunned them. Right. Last question. That's about an hour and 10 minutes. Can I just hand over to Liz or Pat, please, to tell us what's going to happen next week? Thank you very much for Christos. Thank you very much for Eleni. Thank you very much to Pandora for contributing today, and thank you very much for the guests as well. And just handing over to Pat for next week's lineup. Thank you. Pat, you're on.
Why did the chicken go to the seance? To get to the other side.
Oh, right.
All right. Oh, we missed our Montreal moment, but he will be back next week. We're going to shift gears next week. It's not going to be about Dragon Boat clubs and Dragon Boat athletes. It's going to be about the business side of Dragon Boat. Sarah from Nathan Benderson Park, and most people down in southern Florida know what it is. Nathan Benderson Park is probably the most modern flat water training facility in the world, and it's located in Sarasota. So it's also the site of the 2022, future site of the 2022 Club Crew World Championships. It's an amazing facility, totally state-of-the-art, multi-million-dollar complex that was privately funded. And we're going to have a virtual tour of that facility, what it takes to keep it going. It's amazing. It's even got buffers along the shoreline that are built in so you don't have wash back and forth. It's a fabulous facility. And then the second presenter is going to be actually really about the business of Dragon Boat. The private sector is really what drives our sport. If we didn't have companies out there that invested, some of them hundreds of thousands of dollars in boats and trailers and trucks and staff and so on, we wouldn't be racing in North America. Those are the people that keep us going. So those race production companies and festival organizers are really the lifeblood for us. So Mike Kirkman, who's the owner of Pan Am Dragon Boat, and he was the first commercial operator of or provider of Dragon Boat festivals and producing Dragon Boat events in North America, and that was back in the 1990s. He was the first one. All the other companies that you see out there came after him, so he was a pioneer. So it's a pretty interesting story as to how he got to where he is, and because of him, where we are right now. So that's it for next week. It's the business side of Dragon Boat. I think it's going to be really interesting. I'm looking forward, frankly, to the tour of Nathan Benderson. It's an amazing, amazing facility. So anyway, that's all I got.
Okay.
So we'll
Thanks
see
very
you guys
much.
next week.
See you next week.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.